Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stout Man Needs a Haircut. Today, I'll be doing a little surgery. I just wanted to say beforehand, before I do my video this week for 5 Awesome Studs, that holy shit! I made it to the final freaking challenge! In your face! Naysayers that I never saw. But I'm pretty happy and excited, and I'm very thankful for everyone who did not vote for me. And even if it was just 1 week you didn't vote for me, thank you. Yes, you get the thumb of destiny. Thumb! This video is a video I'm doing because I was tagged by Planet Beerwagon, who is not in factuality a beer wagon. I was tagged for the challenge of the horror movie challenge. Dun dun dun! Okay, so without any further ado, let's get it on! Favorite horror movie villain. My favorite horror movie villain would have to be Chucky. No, not Chucky Finster. Chucky from Child's Play. You know, the possessed doll that kills people, like... Except not quite like that. That's more Halloween style, but you get what I'm saying. And we all know that Chucky kind of stole a lot of, well, some stuff from Halloween anyways, don't we? Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. But yeah, I don't know why Chucky, I just liked Chucky because his voice in particular. There's something about, it seems like all the classic horror movies, they had all these, you know, brilliant freaking voices that just made the character all that much better. And for me, the one that stands out the best and has the most character is Chucky. Favorite horror movie music. Well, my favorite horror movie music would probably have to be Halloween. I know. It's typical. But it's classic, and you can't go wrong with it. And it's good. And I mean, the thing is that, you know, horror movies in particular, the music goes a long way towards, you know, scaring you and making the atmosphere more scary, as it were. And there are so many great films out there that use that really well, Halloween being one of them. But it's just like, they all use it so well that it's hard to choose just one. So if I had to choose just one, I'd choose the one that I like the best. The one that's, you know, quintessential and simple and to the point and still creepy as hell. And that one for me is the theme song to Halloween. So, yeah. Favorite horror movie subgenre. Now, I'm not saying I'm not a fan of the horror comedy subgenre. I'm just saying I'm more a fan of thriller suspense movies, which I kind of consider a subgenre of horror. Because, you know, in the same manner they're trying to scare you, they're just not using as many jump scares or, you know, cheap scares or anything like that. Or, you know, it's not always a slasher trying to kill you, you know. They're using the atmosphere to scare you and make you suspenseful and tense, basically. And, you know, that's what scares you more than anything. Favorite horror-themed games. I'm going to be honest, I don't really like horror games. It's not that I find them too scary, I just don't really like them that much. I've played some Resident Evil, I've played some Silent Hill, I've played some Dead Space, I've played a bunch of small-time, regular stuff. And I'm just not that interested in it. Sorry. Favorite horror movies. Okay, so I need to build up on my horror movie collection because I really don't have much right now. If you were to look at my shelf right now and try to find something that looked horror themed, you'd find Mothman Prophecies, Final Destination, you'd find 1408 and Poltergeist and stuff like that. But I really, I have not really spent a lot of time filling that out. But if I were to fill it out, you'd definitely see Chucky in there. You'd definitely see Halloween in there. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe Dawn of the Dead type stuff, and Hitchcock, and anything Stephen King. I love Stephen King. Even his movies, even though most of them are really kind of corny, I really like the Stephen King movies. I like anything Stephen King does. I think he's really a master suspense and horror. Go Stephen King! And yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, I like some of the stuff he does. I don't like everything he does, but I do like his stuff. And I don't think I really hated anything he's done, even though there's a lot of people out there just like, God, I hate his stuff. Oh, why is he? It's like, give me a break. It's not that bad. Come on. Favorite food while you're watching horror movies? I'm not really eater during movies. I don't really like to munch on things. I know a lot of people are like, they have to snack while they're watching a movie. And I never really got into that because we were always freaking broke when I was a kid, okay? So whenever we got the chance to go to the movies, we never got to get anything at the concession stands. It was only the ticket, and we're in there for however long the movie is. And it doesn't matter if you're hungry, you're watching the movie, and that's all you're doing. You're experiencing the freaking movie, no time to munch on jack shit. If I were to eat something, it wouldn't be any like one thing in particular. It would probably be like a bunch of random things. Gotta have soda. And sometimes candy, sometimes hot dogs. It's always stuff that's horribly bad for you, right? But whatever. I've wanted to talk about horror movies for a little bit now. So that I can, discuss some of the things I like about them, some of the things I don't. So I'm glad that I got tagged so I could do that. I'm really into the suspense stuff more than I am the horror genre. I just said genre. I feel stupid now. Yeah. I am more into the suspense stuff. I have to go with Planet Beer Wagon when it comes to Poltergeist. It is a classic. I love the hell out of that movie. It's so good. I never get tired of it. I'm never not scared by that movie. It just amazes me how a movie that came out, it came out in '82, so it's been at least 15 years, right? What? Did I just say 15 when I meant 25? Yes, I did. It's been 25 years. So, it amazes me that a movie that old, not to say it's old, but, it amazes me that a movie from that period that really, didn't have too much in the way of incredible special effects or anything, still manages to creep the hell out of me. And a scene in particular that creeps the hell out of me is the scene in the pool. And it always creeped the hell out of me every time I watched it, to the point where... Is it over yet? So yeah, that was me when I was watching the pool scene. Because it's just horribly creepy and wrong feeling. And I always had this feeling of dread whenever she would fall back into the pool, the unfinished pool, and just like, God, no, they're dragging her down! That feeling of dread. And I never really understood why. And then I heard about how they had actually, if you know the scene of the pool, she falls in the pool and then all the dead bodies start to rise into the pool. you know, through the muddy ground, basically. And so she's basically swimming in a pile of dead, rotting corpses, decaying, rotting corpses. And it's just the most terrifying thing you'll ever freaking see, okay? And the reason it's so terrifying, as I found out when I read about it later, they used real freaking corpses. Those weren't fake. Those were real freaking skeletons they used. No wonder it was so freaking scary and stuck with you this whole time. Freaking hell, they used real skeletons. Yeah. And they did it in the second movie too, in the cave scene. God. I mean, that's hardcore, man. It's wrong, but it's hardcore. It convinced all the people not to do the third movie, except for one, who, you know, except for two, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's just whoa to me. That's the kind of stuff I like, is where, you know, they don't have to try too hard to scare you with stupid little scares, you know, where they're just, you know, they're just trying to scare you but fake you out. I hate that shit. That stupid freaking crap that they have in all the new horror movies nowadays, where it's just about this simple jump scare where, you know, it's a fake out. And they have it in all the freaking movies. And it annoys the piss out of me. Not because it gets me, but because it happens like 30 times in these scary movies in the matter of like an hour and a half. And it's just like, how many times can you do these stupid jump scares? It's like, that's what it's become a challenge of. It's how many times we do the stupid jump scares. Ha ha ha. Shut the hell up and get original for once. God damn. These horror movies are so unoriginal nowadays. I feel bad because about the time I'd be starting watching horror movies when I was young was the early to mid 90s, and there really wasn't much of anything on in the way of, there wasn't really much of anything that was really that good in the way of horror in the mid 90s. You know, I mean, think about the horror movies you remember from the mid 90s. H2O, dear God, no. I can't even remember any that would be even remotely significant from the early 90s. You know, maybe the early 90s, but not 92, 93, which is about the time I'm talking about, 94, 95, something like that. There just wasn't anything. It seems like the main horror years were the 70s, the 80s, well, really all the decades, if you will. 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, okay. 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and then it skipped the 90s and went straight to 2000s. And the new millennium has had quite a few good ones, a lot, way more bad ones, but they've had some good, solid horror movies, you know, and a lot of them have been remakes, but they've been good, solid horror movies. And I've been jealous of that because it's like, I never got to grow up with that. I know people who got to grow up with good horror movies, but I never got to. Damn. Lucky bastards. It skipped my goddamn generation. God damn it. I guess that's why I'm not so big into horror movies, and I really don't like the slasher. If there's one movie genre, if there's one horror subgenre that really needs to die, it's the slasher genre. Because how many times can you do a goddamn movie about a serial killer trying to kill people, or about a bunch of serial killers trying to kill people, or a family of serial killers, a family of deranged, ugly lunatics trying to kill people? It's just like, yeah, we get it already. It's been done to death. You need to stop. It's just no. Bad, wrong, no. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about is that there was a horror series that I felt like, you know, one of the trends of horror movies, they like to draw shit out and until it, dies. So they like to do as many sequels as they possibly freaking can. Sequels out the ass until they run it into the ground. That's the typical thing they do with all horror movies. They do it with a lot of movies, period. But the main genre of movies that they do it with is horror movies. And I don't have a problem with it when it's a good concept, and even the cheese factor can be good, kind of like with the classic horror movies of the 80s and 70s that we all remember and whatnot. What I thought was interesting is that this movie series that came out, at least there was 2 movies, Jeepers Creepers, it wasn't entirely original, but it had an original concept for what it was producing, basically. It had an original concept for a new monster, basically. And the new monster wasn't entirely original itself, but the concept of it and the way the story was told and everything felt pretty original to me. I didn't feel like it was ripping anything off or anything. And I really liked the first movie, and a lot of people hated even that, but I really liked the second one too, even though it was a little bit annoying because it was, had a lot of bad actors in it. Ugh. But, a lot of people really despised that one. But even the end in particular of that movie was just great. And I felt like, this is the kind of thing that could spawn its own series that they run into the dirt. And I wouldn't mind seeing that with Jeepers Creepers, because I felt like that was a movie monster that could become legend over time if they kept going with it, But they didn't. I don't get why they chose not to. I don't get why there isn't a Jeepers Creepers 3, 4, and 5 yet. I mean, there's like 42 Saws. Okay, not yet, but give it a couple of freaking years. It's like they run that one into the ground. What? That's not even one you can really run into the ground. They had to try their damnedest to try and run that one into the goddamn ground. Jeepers Creepers is one that lends itself to running it into the ground. Come on, man. This is a perfect chance. I guess maybe it was just because I wanted to experience that in my own lifetime, because I never got to experience it as a kid. So I wanted to experience that, movie monster magic happening again. But I really didn't feel like it was that bad. I don't get why people hated it so much. So yeah. What the heck? Why do you hate on Jeepers Creepers? It was good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't so horrible. And it had a lot of classic, brilliant concepts in it, which I liked. Yeah. And you're free to disagree, but I don't get why you would. I really don't. Explain how you feel about this if you don't like it. Because I don't get what was so bad about it or so wrong about it. So yeah, if you're disagreeing with me, feel free to explain. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm doing for my horror movie rant, as it were. Thank you for tagging me, Travis, Planet Beer Wagon. And I think that the people that I will be tagging will be DallinJeepsUtah, MyPinkElephants, and Smeckaldorf. You have been tagged, and all you got to do is answer the questions I answered. So there you go. Go!